All right. We are back. And as you can tell, we do have someone else on the line here, not Trevor. We have Christian, who has been on this podcast before. God, I don't know. How long ago was that?
Man, I don't know. It's been a while, but I'm glad we get a chance. I want to say maybe a year. Time
It might
flies.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we haven't worked a lot together as much, but it's one of those things where, I don't know, I always love keeping in contact with other SEO digital marketers, agency owners, just because it's kind of a lonely world out there, especially we're all remote, etc. To swap ideas, bounce things off of, and just kind of keep that connection alive because I just don't think there's a lot of good ones out there. So I'm really happy to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think the sentiment's the same, right? As like it's hard to know who do you trust. I mean, even just hearing stories from clients, but also, personally see them, you just never know, right? There's that side of the industry where like you gotta be very careful who you trust and where you put your investment in when it comes to SEO. I think it's a wild west, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, Christian, just quick recap for everybody that didn't listen to the last one. Um, what are you about? Who you representing? How do they find you? Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I go by Christian Hustle. You can find me on LinkedIn and YouTube. Obviously, local SEO consultant. So I help brands get found on AI and search and the never ending AI, right?
Yeah, we'll
And I
definitely
run
crack
a
into that.
yeah, and I run a SEO agency or AI agency nowadays called Woobound. So you can check it out at woobound.com. And but yeah, I mean, like you guys, I like to create a lot of content, try to keep business owners and people informed on how to apply all these craziness that's going on right now.
Do you feel so? It's interesting. We were kind of catching up right before the pod started. This is like episode 54. Me and Trevor have been pretty consistent about it. I always joke around that I always just like catching up with like-minded people once a week. It's kind of nice, kind of, especially on a Friday.
Yeah.
Um, but my question is, do you find the content that you're creating, be it your YouTube, some of the podcast stuff you do, helps bring in clients, nurture current clients, etc.? I'm just kind of curious.
And it's a great question because we, looking back maybe a year, right? Like, so the podcast has been on and off for 7 years. It started as a whole different thing, and then it's probably on this third or fourth iteration of like complete radical topic of or change the topic. And earlier, maybe a year ago, last summer, right? We had a pretty big client come in from a video, and at the time, the investment was okay. It was an okay camera, okay microphone. Actually, this microphone, and then in my mind, it's like, well, if we got a big client from a video, like we might as well go all out, right? So I finished building the studio, bought a nice camera, even better microphone, and then after that, it kind of stabilized where like it helps us retain for sure, right? Because they keep seeing us, they keep hearing about us. I have not seen crazy attribution to say, oh, we're getting a lot of clients from content, but it's also because I've not been as consistent as you guys, right? So I think consistency is really a key pillar and to make this work. But I also believe that it's great to nurture, just because
Yeah.
we're have a lot of campaigns running, leads coming in, but that nurture. I mean, nobody's ready to buy, right? When you fill out a form, and that's the challenge, especially for a digital marketing agency. They're getting bombarded with other ads, other, I guess, how do you differentiate yourself? Well, it's just show your face, right? Let them hear you talk, let them hear you presenting ideas and topics like you guys do in this podcast. So I'm not, I'm in the fence, right? It's like I'm not sold either way, but I have big hopes that it should help grow, pipeline and eventually get us to that point.
That's interesting because I'm curious if like, I totally hear you on the retention side of things. I think that's helpful. We don't do a huge promotion of this at all either. Like we don't like
Hmm.
send it out to our current clients. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we kind of maybe I'll talk about it when I'm on a call. Like,
Right.
oh, we just talked about that during in our podcast or whatever, and it kind of maybe adds a level of credibility. Maybe sometimes in the sales process, I'll bring it up.
Hmm.
I haven't actually weaved it into maybe some of the emails follow ups that we do. Um, that actually is not a bad idea of doing. Of like I don't know, maybe we're because we do a bunch of different things, but if we're talking, maybe we have a podcast that's on a certain topic that's relevant that we can send them. Like, it just kind of adds a different like texture, I guess, than like a standard email. You got a video
Yeah.
that you're kind of talking about it, because I think we've sent like blog posts that we've done or case studies,
Okay.
but maybe a podcast link.
Right.
That's interesting. I'm gonna write that down to sales prospect, because
Yeah.
outside of like sales prospects, you know, we don't ever promote the podcast. Like, if it comes in through naturally, I'm not putting it on LinkedIn. I mean, maybe we
Right.
should be, but I don't know. I'm a little bit sus about LinkedIn or how to promote that. I don't know.
Yeah. And you and I, we've had this conversation about LinkedIn, right? We're just like, it's, look at me, right? It's like, that's what the platform's for. And
Yeah,
it gets, for me, it gets overwhelming because I do like to go out there and say, hey, look at me. But then they look at me and it's like, okay, stop looking at me, right? It's like, I
yeah,
get off LinkedIn and it's like, it's a very weird relationship that I have with LinkedIn. There's days that I love it. There's days that I just cringe and I don't want to know about LinkedIn for a few days. Like, it's weird, right? But I guess it depends on the goal of podcast. But what I've done in the past was, especially even with this tool that you guys use to record, like, creating a couple of reels and then
yeah.
posting them out there and test that out. Um, Crazy results, right? Like 9 out of 10 doesn't get any views or very few. But I've had a couple that actually, for some reason, just took off and like on YouTube Shorts, and they got some decent couple hundred, or I think there was a short that got like over 500 views, and it was the most random one, right? So it's just, I guess it's just
Yeah,
consistency and keep
we've done
testing.
shorts too. I mean, Riverside's this platform is awesome for creating shorts. It's not that difficult to do. It's just being kind of consistent. And honestly, I'm the one that in charge of making shorts, and I failed on that as far as being consistent on it. But like
Yeah.
but when I'll get to them, I'll have like fucking 15 shorts to upload, and we've had some of them hit like
Oh,
1,500 views. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I'm like,
that's
are these
cool.
people really viewing stuff, or are they? I mean, it does drive some subscribers there, but I'm actually thinking of. I was letting Trevor know, like, dude, I'll shell out a little bit of money to have like a video producer that could just come in
Yeah.
and create the shorts and post them, so I don't have to worry about it. It's like, hey, all
Yeah.
I got to do is record the podcast, and then they can use the tool, publish it on our YouTube channel, and we call it a day. I don't think it'd be that expensive to do, but just to keep that consistency going, because like, if I'm in the way of the time, etc., like, I could find someone to do it. I think.
Yeah. That's where
Yeah.
I used to have someone that was helping me, and he moved countries and then kind of got a new job and dropped my project, and then consistency after that is just nearly impossible. Like, I just can't keep up, and then
Yeah.
just thinking about the editing itself, right, is like dreading.
Yeah, that's why with like this podcast, we're just like, dude, hit the record button, let's roll. We don't ever post edit anything. It's just super
That's
raw. And we're
awesome.
like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know I ran a couple of YouTube channels back in the day. I think one, I don't even know if I told you about one, was like with my kids, like back in the day, like we would do like science
Mm.
projects and stuff like that. So it was a
Oh,
lot
cool.
of editing, like
Oh, yeah.
some like graphic arts on it and stuff. It was a blast. I archived it now. I mean, there's probably about 20 videos that I did, but I knocked it out like editing for like every minute would take me an hour because I was adding a shit ton of effects
Yeah.
and stuff like on there, So
Absolutely.
I get it, the video production, but that's why I like this kind of easier format of just raw format. Makes sense.
Yeah. And this is like, I guess it's just my personal opinion, but it's also a good segue, right? Because it's like running an agency, and there's so many agencies, and we're all trying to be different, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, we're all doing similar things, right? So I like to call the content or the video and the podcast to be one of my main differentiators, right? As like, I have a certification in instructional design, and I like speaking, so maybe I consider myself good at explaining SEO, right? And then go from
Mm,
that route. Especially now with all things AI, right? Like, now everybody is
yeah,
releasing AI tools and AI, and even business owners can kind of do a lot of the stuff with AI on SEO. So why hire an agency, right, or a collective? I don't know. I feel like this still has that human touch to me that I putting my hopes in. Like, I'm putting all my eggs in the basket. That maybe that is my way to go, right? Like, how do I differentiate myself in this AI first world? Maybe this is it, right? Like, yes, we have the AI tools, the AI development, the AI optimization, but we still have that human touch and human relationship building of some kind.
I agree with that kind of sentiment because regardless of like, yes, there's a lot of platforms that can help you do your SEO with AI, etc. Uh, but how do you manage it and actually execute it and
Yeah,
look back at it and respond to it? Still takes that kind of human touch, but I still
yeah,
think people will crave a human touch as far as
right.
part of the process of it all. In a grander scheme of like AI integrates with everything in life, I think people will still, we're going to get to a point, and I've talked to Trevor about this on the podcast a couple of times, but it's like people are going to be kind of wowed by what AI can do right
Yeah,
now, be it video creation, be it image creation, be it optimization, code, etc. And maybe some stuff will always be in AI and stay with it, maybe on the code side. But there will be a point where like people will be really impressed with artwork that was done by a human and not AI. They're like, oh
right.
wow, a human did that, not a robot. Or a
Yeah,
podcast, like even a podcast like this, in theory, we could have AI avatars speaking together on an LLM notebook
sure.
and you wouldn't even possibly know. So I think
Yeah,
people still have that craving for the human touch. And even with young kids as they're growing up, I'm like, what do you want to do in the future with work, etc.? What do you want to do? One of my kids is really into theater, and I'm like, okay, maybe the script's written by AI, but people go to the theater to see the
right.
humans, not the robots. So I think
Exactly.
you're right. I think even on the service side as an agency, I just think people are going to be hesitant talking to or trusting everything in an AI.
Right.
I just don't, unless they don't know it's AI. That's the only way I think it's going to happen. They're going to get tricked that it's not AI and they're going to be okay with it. That's my guess.
Which
So I
is
think we'll be okay.
it's already. I mean, it's already happening, right? Like you're texting a company, you're using a chatbot. Most of the times they're transparent and they tell you, "Hey, I'm AI." But I don't know if you've seen those ads from the new phone companies that are AI voices, and you're on the phone, right, and you're talking to someone, and they sound legit, right? Like I saw this ad yesterday. It was a woman on the phone. She's on speaker and she calls the husband's office, and then this voice of a woman picks up the phone call, and she's like, "Who is this?" He's like, "Hi, this is doctor's whatever assistant." And she goes, "I didn't know he had an assistant." And there's like a couple of second delay, right? Because it's
Yeah, yeah,
AI,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
answering, right? And the wife's like, "He didn't tell me that he hired an assistant." And then at the end, she goes, "Well, I'm actually an AI assistant, right? So you're talking to an
So
AI
weird.
powered voice, but I will have." And it's so funny because the AI assistant said, can you leave a message?" And then the wife says, "Well, just have him call me back." So the AI assistant is like, "Well, how does he get in touch with you? Can you give me your phone number?" It was hilarious, right? It was
Yeah,
a great ad, but I feel like, to your point, I think we're getting there, right? Is we're gonna get tricked, and it's gonna be hard to tell.
yeah. Do that whole calling stuff, etc. I mean, there's been things about it about scams, etc.
Yeah,
Taking celebrities'
big
voices.
time,
Anybody like, dude, I've done enough
big time.
podcasts. You've done enough podcasts where people can take our voices now, like absolutely. And they call, etc. So it's like we have to create a safe word to the family, like, hey,
You really
dude, for
have to. I
real.
mean,
Like
yeah, yeah.
two factor human authentication. That's what we
Yeah,
have to do
yeah,
now,
exactly. It's like you
which
gotta
is
have your
wild.
own, personal code, or secret word or something. I mean, and I am probably adding fuel to that fire because, like, I work with overall the tech company, and I create content for them, and I help them build this academy where I teach a lot of the courses, and now I'm helping them do voiceover powered by AI. So it's me with lip
Mm,
sync. It sounds like my voice, but I'm speaking French, German, Spanish,
no
and
kidding.
other languages. And it's like I'm adding the feel because, anybody could do this, right? Like, it's not, you don't
Yeah,
really need me. Like, you can just run my avatar. It's crazy.
that's wild. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. But the region. I mean, we had started talking yesterday over Slack a little bit more, and we wanted to sync up about kind of like AI, what's going on with Google search, etc. How are we tracking it? What are we doing? I mean, you kind of teased it out a little bit early on in your introduction. Um, but I mean, was it last week Google at Google I/O launched Google AI mode? I'm starting to see it now. I think everybody has it now on their mobile browser, on their desktop browser, or if not, very soon, where they have a tab that says AI mode and it's more of a prompt screen that's pulling in. So no longer 10 blue links. This is a mode that you go through. And the big conversation going on is how is this going to impact SEO, user behavior into your website? Are you going to get the same traffic? So I think it's a big point of discussion to go through. And I've talked about it a little bit with Trevor last week, but curious on kind of your take on it and what you're doing, and kind of crack into that a bit because I think it'll be interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. It's a very big change. Like everything that's happening on the AI search is, as an SEO, it's scary, right? Like it really is because it's changing our game. It's changing everything that we knew. Um, there's some consistency. There's things optimizations that we still apply the same, but the way that the consumer searching is 100% different, right? So I literally was at a networking event yesterday morning, and I was talking to this guy. He runs a pest control local company, and he got a lead slash customer, and he asked him, "It's like, hey, how did you find me?" And the customer said, "Well, I asked ChatGPT for a local pest control company with reasonable prices, and you were shown as the answer." And and I asked him, I was like, "Why do you think you were recommended?" And he said, "Well, I literally a month ago I added my prices on my website, and most of my competitors don't have prices." So it
Data.
really validates one of my theories is just once you understand how ChatGPT works, right? It's a brain, can think on its own, but it has to be thought. It has to be trained on information. And that's like what I've been talking to business owners and brands is it's all about data. It's like how much information are you publishing and is available data online about your business, because that's what they're going to reference, right? It doesn't matter if you have the best sushi in the world if online you can't really prove it and is not mentioned anywhere and there's no information about it, right? How are AI agents going to find this amazing sushi? So it really comes down to data, right? It's more than
So where do they
ever.
where are they getting that data? Like what are they referencing?
There's a and depending on the agent, right? Like Google, it's obviously referencing Google Business Profile 100%. They're really pushing their data through there. But even Chat GPT is leveraging, Bing, because they have a partnership with Bing, right? So they're definitely leveraging that. I heard that even having a Bing business profile verified is a big factor for Chat GPT, right? Because they can validate, they can trust the data. There are, I think we talked about this one, but like what we know as link building back in the day, which was, a very strong ranking factor for Google, is not as strong as a link for AI, but it is a validation for them to really trust the brand, right? Like in the case of a local restaurant, being found or being mentioned by Yelp and local bloggers as, hey, this is one of the best brunch spots. And AI picks up on that, right? It's like, oh, this is validation that these guys are good. They deserve to be featured on an answer. So I feel like it's AI search is doing all the research for you, right? There's no more. Just think about it, right? It's like what you were looking at pictures, you were looking at videos, at menus, at reviews before you pick a restaurant, and now AI is doing all of that for you and just giving you there's the three that I think that you're gonna like the most. Just pick one, right, and go. And I think I'm gonna nail it. So it's crazy. It's wild. Like the
So I had a conversation with ChatGPT, and I got into the whole conversation of like, hey, why did you recommend this site for when I was
yeah,
searching for something? Dude, they actually said that they go out to Google and do searches too, not just Bing.
yeah,
So they're referencing Google and even Google AI overviews. I'll send you the whole chat thread I have. It's pretty fascinating.
hmm it's
Um,
pretty cool.
and I'm like, okay, so maybe ChatGPT is looking at the blue links. They're looking at AI overviews. They have their own database as well that they're pulling in from. They're going to Bing as well. They're collecting that data. I think that's a huge thing. But I think you're right. It's the reference of your business out
hmm
on the internet. And
Yeah.
I really like the way you phrase it. It's like they're doing the research for you. So, like, how would you have done the
hmm
research? You would have maybe looked
Right.
at a couple of different resources, etc. Um, so I think I'm not sure on local side of things, but I think it's got to be important. But like all the different directories that are out there, the review
Yeah.
directories, they're
Yeah.
referencing those items.
They
Um,
are scanning those.
I even for our own website, dude, Christian, I haven't even told you this. Like we've gotten a lot more leads in the last 3 months from ChatGPT than organic. And
Wow.
that's because we rank decently in Google for certain niche terms, but
Mm-hmm.
then they rank well in LLMs that then brings them us in there and we're referenced. And so we have people like, oh yeah, I just was using ChatGPT or Copilot, and you guys were referenced as a source. And so when I started kind of trying to back engineer it, there's a couple directories that we're on that we're pretty high up on that they reference every single time. But then there's this
Mm-hmm.
weird pocket. And this goes back to your kind of link building conversation of I found a couple different websites that are, dude, just think of your typical link building, maybe blog network websites that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
that had done like a top Los Angeles web design companies. We're not even trying to rank for that, but like somehow we got pulled in there. I think they scraped our directory and then put it in there. But anyways,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like it looked like a link building content type thing, but there was no link at all to our website. But it was pulled in as a reference to ChatGPT to back us up
Mm-hmm.
for a ranking. So I think there is a time period right now that I'm going to do some testing on this, that maybe some of the more traditional backlinking process that we've done in the past of acquiring link no longer requires a link, but it's more of a bio op on your business
Yeah.
or a listicle review that's placed, and you're not asking the publisher for a link back at all, because I think that's
Right.
how LLMs will collect and start to cite that, and they can't really tell it's an authoritative site or not. I don't think they're that quite
No.
there yet at
Right.
all. It's like, why would you pull the
Right.
site in? It's like, dude, they were like .io websites. There's a couple variances. Like, these are pretty shitty sites. Like, why are you referencing
Yeah.
us in there? Like, how are this adding to the credibility? So I think that's something I'm testing out. I think that could be the new wave of kind of link
Yeah.
building. It's more of an in between of like traditional digital PR and link building,
Yeah. Exactly.
where we can get into that itself. So I'm gonna test that out. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, let me know how it goes, but that's exactly what I'm envisioning, where it's not, keep calling it link building because we're used to that, right? But it's not the link anymore. It's not the link placement, it's the mention, right? It's like who's
Yeah,
mentioning it, why, what is the context? Like, is it a random website just throwing your company name, or is it a the best in Los Angeles list, right? It's looking at that context and really processing that data. So it's fascinating.
I
I
don't
mean,
think the LLMs know how to rank a site if it's authoritative as well as Google
no,
can,
no,
because that has been
yeah,
based off of a link graph profile that they've modified for years to try to figure out who's the spammer,
yeah.
who's not the spammer. And so to see these kind of get past this filter, you're like, who? Okay, that's interesting. So maybe there's an advantage for us in the next 6 months, year, but eventually it'll be more of that kind of digital PR. I think that will take place, for it all. And I think that's the direction that we're going to have to go, because if you think about it, Google has always been so dependent on their link building
Mm-hmm.
profile as part of the SEO algorithm to rank higher in the 10 blue link section, right? The SERPs.
Yeah.
And they've always talked about trying to become less dependent on that. And I
Right.
know in their patents they've talked about like brand mentions and entities, etc. I talked about this shit years ago. Like, hey, maybe we do link building without link building because they can detect it. I don't think they could detect it back then, but if you throw a learning model and an LLM on it, they can try to learn what's all out
Right.
there on the internet and better define what a brand is, and pull it
Exactly.
in. So I think that's important, to
Because
do.
the LLM is thought and trained on data and information, is not crawling links, right? It's not going through the link and figure out, is this a follow link or an no follow link?
They don't know.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter, right? Is the
yeah,
information being processed? So I think you're onto something. It makes
yeah. And
total
I think
sense.
even the local stuff too. Like we're not a local business. We have a, as far as like we want people coming to brick and mortar shop, but it's like, hey, we
Yeah.
create our Google My Business profile, and we did do like a localese syndication for all the different citations that are out there. I still think that's important too, to kind of solidify you as a business of like a legitimate brand, especially if you're new on the internet. Because
Right.
like, what other resources are they going to get? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I could see someone that doesn't have a brick and mortar like doing those kind of, I guess, citation listings, if that makes sense to do. I think that would make sense still to do too.
Now, what I'm very curious, right? Going back to the example of your website, and it ranks for certain keywords or certain niches well. So ChatGPT is picking up on that, but ChatGPT is also, you're a user, right? So it knows how you think, what kind of prompts you're asking, what are you doing on a daily basis. And I'm curious if one day, because I'm literally using AI like 4 to 6 hours a day nowadays, right? It's become crazy and part of my life. And all these conversations, they have the knowledge, they have the answers, they know how I think, they know how everything about me at this point. So I'm wondering if one day they use that in combination with search results and data online to figure out, is like, oh, Christian knows his stuff, I'm going to recommend him just because of the conversations I've had with him, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, did they know you and what you've been
Yeah,
using ChatGPT for? Like, hey, you're actually a pretty great local SEO
yeah,
guy, SEO in general. We should recommend him because he's attached to Woobound. I'm not 100% sure. That's kind of an invasion of
yeah.
kind of the data itself. I wouldn't mind it because I think I do pretty well too. But I know that like Google AI and ChatGPT, they use all the history,
They do, I
location,
mean,
etc.,
yeah,
to modify the results to you.
to
Like that's even like
personalize them,
personalized.
right?
So like Google search personalization was one thing, but
Mhm.
now it's like personalization on freaking crack, dude. It's like insane,
Yeah.
like supercharged with the
Yeah.
LLMs. So how they actually, so that's the thing. I think a lot of fundamentals of what we do SEO wise, and a lot of the buzz about optimizing for AI and doing AI SEO, etc. I still think a lot of the fucking fundamentals of on-page optimization, building out niche category pages on your website, making sure that you're listed on third-party websites, maybe doing a little link, all that shit still stays the same. It's still important to
Mhm.
LLMs, but I think what the challenge is here, and I'd love to hear, uh, is how the fuck do we report on this to clients? Because everything is super
Mm,
personalized. It's like,
yeah.
where's my rank tracker for an LLM?
Right.
I've seen some tools out there that they're trying to do something like that. So it's like, I'm trying to grasp on one, is there like a rank checking tool that we can use for LLMs? Two, how the hell do we track this in our analytics or Google Search Console? Because they're not giving us data at all
Mhm.
on that
Mhm.
side of things. Like they're not parsing it out in Google Search Console as far as, hey,
Yeah.
this was AI overview data versus not, or AI agent bot traffic when they fan out the searches and do a couple more searches on the backside. There's a lot of searches happening on the internet right now that are AI bot generated that's coming into ours. Like we can't distinguish it. So how do we track this and report it back to clients? Like what have you been doing?
Yeah, it's a great question because it also, with us having a more local aspect, right? Where you can search on AI and you can find the local business and you can request directions, show up at the door, and you never even visited their profile or their website or anything like that. How in the world are you going to attribute that food visit, right? Like, how are the, you and I, we don't have an office for people to come in, but restaurants or retail stores or things like that, you can actually show up to the door with zero tracking and attribution, right? And buy, you know, big purchases or whatever. So we don't have the answer yet, right? Like we don't really know where tracking is going to go. But I do know that the way that we've always talked about rankings and where do you rank, what's your number rank, is like that's almost obsolete because whatever you search for, whatever your results are, 99% different than everybody else.
Yeah.
And I
Like
think
the
that's
average
the
rank in Google
biggest.
Search Console is like, it's not
It's
even
like
that good because it's
it's like
across the
yeah,
board. So it's
yeah,
like the individual rank trackers are kind of nice to kind of get a pulse check when you see like a big bump or something or an algorithm shift. You can kind of get a sort of a baseline, but I don't honestly share. I mean, we have it available, but I don't share a lot of our manual ranking reports that we have
right.
because they're not that useful. It's useful to
They're
me
they're
internally to
not
know
they're
when
not.
like there
Yeah,
maybe was an algorithm update, shift change, or something, and I can kind of see when that happened. I get your point. Ranking reports is not that important. So what do we go to? We look at
right.
Google Search
What's
Console
next?
and what's next? Yeah. So what
I
is
mean,
next?
there has to be some sort of data, right? Like some sort of mentions, like instead of impressions, is mentions. So like, how many times where was your business shown in an answer? We at least need that, right? We need something that shows us how many people saw saw our business name or our company name on an answer. Because if there's no clicks, I mean, there's no clicks reports, right? If there's no links in the answer, then that's that. But at least we deserve, right? Or we're hoping to get a number of how many people saw our company name in an answer, whether it's on Google AI mode, Google AI overviews, Chat
How do we
GPT.
get
I
that
mean,
though?
well, yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, right? Is like hoping that that is next probably will happen more from Google than ChatGPT, but hopefully one day get that in Search Console, right? Like
Yeah,
number of
like to get some sort of
times you were
disclosure.
mentioned.
Yeah, so here's the thing: they'll never give us the actual search query because they took
Right.
it away from
No.
us in Google Analytics. In Google
Yeah.
Search Console, there is some, but because if you think about AI
Terrible.
searches, they're very long form, and according to Google's policy, um, they might be self-identifying. Right? You might
Right.
say, like, "Hey, I have an 8-year-old daughter that's interested in art. I'm looking for a local art class in La Mesa." And close to my address. Like, dude, you can't give that
Mm-hmm.
out, right? That's way too. So they're never
Right.
going to give us like the full. So maybe they'll give us like a report that's like your, I don't know, more like a category or something like that of
Mm-hmm.
data that you were included in. But that's all of them giving up to us, and I'm just so disappointed that when they released the AI search, they didn't give us any support on this
Right.
as far as where the data coming in, because even on the paid side, you can do ads in Google AI mode, but they won't
Mm-hmm.
tell you when it occurs. And they want you to do it on like broad match keywords to be eligible for it. So super like loose, like, hey, give us your data and we'll
Yeah.
try to place. But then they won't even tell you when it happens. So you don't even know if it's a good thing or not. So if a client came to me
Right.
and say, I want to be in Google AI overviews, that's where it's at. I couldn't even tell them, yes, we could. One, I can guarantee that to happen. Two, I can tell you how it performed. It's not there. Like, come on. It's like, I get it. You need to change Google, but you need to support the backbone of the
Mm-hmm.
people that are one paying for your ads, etc., and then maybe throw us SEOs a bone to have some data coming in.
And this is like, well, I guess is a double edged sword, right? Because I went to a event at a Google office in January, and I had a really good or multiple good conversations with multiple people that are like the head of the products, right? Like the head of Google Business Profile, and then the lead or team lead of Google Ads for local businesses and things like that. And they see the concerns, they hear the concerns, but they prioritize very different than the way that we expect them to. We're like, we're asking for data, we're asking for attribution and reports. They're focusing more of like, well, I want to. They've recently released Google Posts, right? Or a new feature for Google Local Posts, trying to not be a social channel, but allow local businesses to promote more of their events and coupons and things like that. It's like that feature took a long time to develop instead of focusing on attribution or giving us impressions and clicks on those posts. Doesn't exist yet. So it's weird, right? It's like, it's weird that they don't really well, that kind of makes sense, right? They don't really focus on the marketers. They all they care is that user experience. It's like, how do we make that searcher happier, and then leave us on the side, and then you figure it out on your own.
Yeah, that's it's just disappointing because us as like running our own agencies, we have clients. We need to be able to kind of show our
Yeah,
value,
yeah.
every month of how we're doing things. So, I mean, what I have seen is that possibly direct traffic has increased a bit more coming in
Mm-hmm.
because if there's not a link, someone's going to go directly to the website and try to put it in. You might see an increase in brand searches. We've definitely seen that on our side. Like someone searching for Collective 42 in the middle of Texas. I'm like, why the hell is that happening? It's because they found us on ChatGPT and there wasn't a link.
Yeah.
And then if there is a link coming across, ChatGPT will show as a referral in your analytics
Mm-hmm.
that you can set up a separate report to show that, which I've done for some clients. It's not a tremendous amount of traffic yet, but it's like you put it in ChatGPT as a referral or Perplexity. It's limited that's there, but it sucks because Google, when someone clicks on a Google AI overview or a Google AI mode and they click on your website, it comes in as normal Google search. So you can't
Right.
even fucking tell of what
Yeah.
percentage is of that. So it's like I'd almost have rather come in as a refer as Google AI,
Yeah.
.com. Like have that happen. So I know that that's what's occurring here. And I can
Mm-hmm.
then I can take an associated traffic of that for our business where it's like, hey, us as
Yeah.
SEOs, we need to start claiming those traffic sources as our earned channels that we interact
Mm-hmm.
with. So it's like we're not quite there yet. I do have a buddy that's testing out some stuff with some URLs that are being displayed after click through as tracking them into Google Ads. I'll talk to you after about it as a possibility of tracking some information. There's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of a paper trail that might get there. Um, But yeah, it's just disappointing and it's difficult. So
It's
for
crazy.
me, I guess with clients, I'm just trying to be very transparent.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe if anything, just show some thought leadership of knowing that, hey, we're ahead of this, or not ahead of it, but we're riding the wave. We get it.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. We've got some action items here and there. But I still think, going back to my original point, a lot of the fundamentals of SEO don't necessarily change in order to rank better in
Correct. Yeah,
LLMs,
I
you know?
agree. I
So I think a lot
agree.
of people think like, oh, the sky's fucking falling, SEO is dead. It's like, well, no, SEO is actually pretty goddamn alive because it does nurture well in LLMs. It's just back to the point of tracking is a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the part that is dying are those blue links, right? Because even a couple of things here, but like even ranking number one on the blue links, which is normal organic searches, doesn't mean anything anymore because you have AI overviews, you have ads, you have maps, you have local shopping, frequently asked questions, and then 3 or 4 scrolls down, the list starts. It's like, well, it doesn't ranking number one is it doesn't work anymore, right? And then you look into LLMs, but there's no ranking, right? Like answers are super personalized.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. It's the optimization side is not changing as much, but the consumer, the way they search, the way they find, definitely completely different.
And I've been waiting for that to happen. And something I was talking with Trevor is like, we are at the tip of the spear as far as like using search all the time and using different things and seeing it. But it's like, dude, it's like when your wife or your aunt or your uncle, starts using Google AI mode or Google AI overviews, it's like that's when things change. And that's happening now. There was definitely a delay when it first
Yeah.
came out, but people are starting to use it a lot more. I haven't seen firsthand accounts yet with AI mode of like people using it, firsthand,
Hmm.
that I know, but I know it's going to happen. And so it's going to shift
Right.
the channel of where traffic comes in. And honestly, it's kind of a better experience.
Yeah,
Like
it
they
is.
do all
It
the
is.
searches for you. They're doing the hard
It
research
is.
for you. You kind of have to trust it. So I think there will be a point in time where it's like that. I wonder they get it. Hopefully they'll give us the ratio on this, but like how many people use normal traditional search versus then move into AI mode, and it's like what is it
Yeah.
now? Maybe 10% AI mode, 90% normal Google search,
Hmm.
and that's going to change over a month. Where I think honestly, in 6 to 8 months, it's going to be primarily AI mode because
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
good.
I can
It's
see
good.
that. I can see
And
that.
I
Yeah.
and I listen to an All In podcast, the All In podcast. It's a really good business podcast. I'm not sure if you've listened to it at all. Trevor recommended it to me. But the guys on there are all like angel investors. They're all in Silicon Valley. They've worked at Google and Meta and Facebook and stuff. And they had brought up this point, where people are like, well, Google can't kill their search revenue. That's where they get
Right.
a lot of their revenue coming in, profitable revenue coming in. Um, but they've got a lot of diversity in how they make money now between YouTube's, Google Cloud, etc. To where I don't think they're as concerned of losing revenue via ads because AI mode still will have ads, on there. Maybe it is less. Let's say it's even like 50% less. I think if the experience is really good, they're going to take market share from ChatGPT's experience and LLMs and how it does it and resecure that spot to come back to. And I think that's kind of more the risk
Yeah.
reward. It's like, hey, do you want to lose 50% of your ad revenue but still be number one in searching stuff,
Hmm.
or do you want to be in 3 years behind the curve and nobody uses you anymore, so your ads don't even make
Exactly.
sense to use? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And they got YouTube revenue coming in. They got all these other revenue sources that are coming in. So I think they're ready to force that. So I don't think it's something people can lean on heavily anymore. Like, oh, they
Yeah.
won't cut off their ad revenue traffic. I think they will.
No,
I think they will to
yeah.
stay put.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a spot on because if they don't change and catch up to what's going on in the user experience and how people are searching now, they'll be obsolete, right? In probably 2 years if they don't do this. So, and I saw a survey where they were asking, local shoppers and how did you pick a local business before you go in there? And one of the questions
Yeah, you
was,
were
what are
talking
the,
about that. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
curious. Let's get into
what
that
are
a little bit.
what are one of the questions was what tools or channels do you use to find a local business? And you probably recall, right? Like Google search, Google Maps has always been probably closer to 95% or over that. And in this result, 20% of the people said they actually use AI tools, and Google was around
Wow.
close to 80%. But we go from the 95 down to 80, and now we see AI tools at 20%. So 2 out of 10 that search for a local business is looking at it's using AI now. It's
That's
crazy.
nuts. And that's going to go faster too, especially if Google is
Yes.
there, like an AI mode, like, and that gets triggered in. It's like, whoa, hold on a second.
So this could
That's going to
double
move
by next
rapidly.
year. Yes. Yeah.
I bet
Yeah.
even faster, man. I really think it could be even faster.
That's
Coming
crazy.
across. So, as marketers, I mean, hopefully on like the paid side, they give us more data on how to get into AI reviews
Mm-hmm.
specifically. On the Google side of things, as far as SEO, it's like, man, they have to give us some sort of data so we can determine how our things are performing. Um, and what's appear. I mean, maybe eventually they will give us data directly from the sources of the LLMs and searches. It's like how
Right.
many times your brand
I mean,
appeared. Because any tool that's
hopefully.
selling it right now that are out there, it's fucking guesses that you're
Yeah.
you're you're putting in there. Like I have a Google sheet that I was testing around with, pulling in the API call from ChatGPT, and I'm like, okay, in cell one, I have a prompt for like best website design company for med device companies, and then another niche, a couple different prompt queries, but it's been kind of like my search queries that I would want to perform and track. So I can
Yeah.
call that in to the sheet and market that day of and I tell them like, just give me a top 10 list, keep it simple. So I kind of get like a top 10 list of what's recommended, and that's that day. All right. A week later, I can do it again and see if it's changed. I can do it again and see it's changed. That's one way. I think the only way that people are doing it right now, it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
this default incognito mode, no personalization. Maybe you
Okay.
can get an idea based on
Yeah.
prompts that you're giving it, but you don't know if those prompts are what people are using, right?
No.
To track it. So it's kind of like, is it even worth tracking it? But also, I'm not sure if it's 100% worth tracking it, because your one point earlier is how personalized
That was what
your
I was gonna
experience is
say.
going to be,
So
like
even if
extremely
if
personalized.
even if your prompt is not like, incognito, not personalized, for the user is going to be personalized. So it's not going to be anywhere close to what you're seeing, right? And
Yeah.
that's why I said there's no such thing as ranking anymore because it's not consistent. Like it could be, you can find a business that nobody else will find just because it was personalized to you.
Yeah.
And as a marketer, or as a tracking and proving the value of your work, that's a nightmare, right? Because how can you report it, track it, prove the value of
Yeah.
what you're doing, right? Like it's wild. I think it's wild.
So here's the other thing too. I think that our chat GPTs or our Google Geminis, whatever you're using, um, we touch a lot of different clients, a lot of different scenarios. So our
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT accounts are very unique as far
Mm-hmm.
as they're not really tailored into me as a person, because it's more of like a
Right.
business account, right? But if
Yep.
you imagine your wife, or say it's a middle marketing manager at a company that's an in-house marketer there at a company, they're gonna
Yep.
have their chat GPT super customized, of like they know everything about the business, they know everything about them
Yes.
personally, etc. And it's going to come back with awesome results. Like some of my stuff gets kind
Yep.
of funky because of all the different clients that I work with. Even if I organize them into projects, etc., some of the results get kind of funky. I'm like, yo, you hallucinated on a project that's over here, and I'm talking about something else.
Yeah.
But I
I've seen
think,
that.
yeah. But my point is like the normal user, even in Google AI mode, let's say, they have all their past search history that's very tailored to who they are. That personalization is going to be, I think, the bread and butter of what pulls up the results. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we just have to make sure our clients have still those solid on page optimization items, and third
Yeah.
party placements, is a big thing. So, I'm really curious of where this test goes. Um, the idea is, yeah, I'm going to try to pick like a certain niche that we haven't ranked really well in, and try to go after that to see if it moves
Mm-hmm.
organically or in LLMs, and go from there.
Yeah.
But I think, dude, digital PR companies are going to have a blast right now. Like they're going to do so well from a revenue standpoint because it's not that hard to be like, hey, they feed on third party content that's actually genuine content. These
Right.
SEO guys that are doing link building from not really authoritative websites, that's no longer the thing. You need to get on these different websites. I have the keys to get you featured on these websites.
I wonder
I think it's a
if
possibility.
my black hat, I come from the black hat world. That's how I started, so it always kicks in right away. But like,
Mm-hmm.
if authority and domain authority is not a thing, and we're not looking at these things, are we looking at it from a quantity perspective?
Dude,
Like, is
for
it
sure.
how many
Dude, yeah, I'm
mentions,
going back
right?
to like old school
Yeah, I was
SEO.
like,
Like, dude, let's
yeah,
spam the shit out of this. Like, let's
yeah,
put up a
straightforward.
bunch of posts about like, hey, Collective 42 is the
Yeah,
best Shopify SEO agency out there and just
yeah,
see what happens. Like,
yeah.
that's a possibility of a test I'm going to do. Because here's the thing. It's not going to hurt my rankings, especially if there's no fucking links. I can't get dinged for any sort
Exactly.
of link penalty. I'm just
Yeah.
spamming the
True.
index with a bunch of information that may be true or not,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
across the board. So I think there's a pocket of time where I think that will definitely work. I'm very high
Interesting.
confidence score on that. But
I'm
it's
gonna
like,
I'm gonna I'm gonna test that. I'm gonna definitely test that
dude, even for
because
like
there's
local
no
clients,
link,
it's
right?
got to
There's
be
no risk.
no, there's no links. There's not at
Yeah.
all. And so I'm sure these publishers, you
Yeah.
can get on better publisher sites if you're not asking for a link. It's just making sure that the LLMs get those indexed. So there might be like a tertiary
Right.
item
As long
that
as those are indexed, right?
so that's where I think on when you do get these placements, and maybe they're not the most like high authoritative websites, etc., you need to feed it to the LLMs.
Yeah.
So I'm not
True.
sure if that's individual prompts that you're doing or API requests saying, hey, go visit these websites and learn about them. It gets into the
Interesting.
knowledge base, so you kind of,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the old school way of link building to your links, like from back in the day, like
Yeah.
we used
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So it's the
Where you
same
have to
thing.
do
It's
the
like you're,
tier levels.
yeah, the tier level. It's the same sort of concept, but to the LLMs. It's like, hey, I got to get it out there, but I think you have to train it. Yeah, I mean, if they're API call requests saying, hey, go crawl this
But
website and learn about it.
is it really like if you were to, whether it's API or a different way, is it taking it in? Because I don't know if it
Right,
is.
right,
Right?
right.
Like, we can
I'm
give
not
it to
sure.
it, we can feed it, right? But I don't know if it's actually going to learn it. I want to say no, but I don't have proof, and it's just a theory.
Right.
Just
So if you
because you
give it, like,
could,
how do you submit an index for an LLM? Like,
exactly,
hey, please
yeah,
submit this. So it's like you give it the
yeah,
URL and you say, hey, please learn about this page. It's important, blah, 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 from one user that does it. Will they actually prioritize that? And then it gets shoved into some sort of index somewhere, some database somewhere. And maybe that's where all the
hmm,
computing power is going. I don't know. Like
maybe,
outside of training, like
yeah,
that's where it has to go. Like every query is getting dropped somewhere into a database that it gets pulled from. So I think the only way that you could really test that is have something that's, I don't even know how would you expose that. Um, Maybe it's like a unique piece of text that's in the post, and you give the prompt. You tell the prompt like, "Hey, can you find like what this is about, or this phrase, or what is this about?" And it's like
hmm,
something shit you made up that only exists on that one page.
yeah, and see if it
And then
finds
they
it.
go out and it probably shouldn't find it, right? And then what you do is then maybe in a different account or maybe through API calls, you say, hey, go to this website and learn about this page. Don't tell it the phrase, just like go to the page and learn about it. And then a couple days later, go back to your original request and saying, hey, what is this
Yeah,
query about? And then see if it says, well, it's about this, this, and that. That's the only way I
hmm.
could think you could do it. You can figure out the timing behind it. I don't got time to do that shit. So if someone else wants to do it, like, dude, let me know. Like, that's the only way. But yeah, dude, it's like the black hat cap comes on like right away. It's like,
Oh
how
yeah,
do we take advantage of this system? You know?
before they
Uh,
change it, because it's just a matter of time. I mean, we saw it with Google.
and maybe
Figure it.
everything is secular and it kind of comes back around. It kind of
Mhm.
makes me think of like, dude, our fucking article directory is going to come back. That might have
Yeah.
been before your time as far as like fucking websites that you just post articles to with your links at the bottom of it. It was not even a blog post. It was like an article directory. It was crazy. It worked great for rankings, but it was the worst idea ever. They flooded the internet with full
Yeah.
of shit articles. Um,
Yeah.
but
It's crazy.
yeah, I guess we'll
Man.
see. Well,
Yeah.
I think we can wrap it up on there. It's been a solid almost hour. It's kind of where we keep them at. Really appreciate you coming on the line today. We'll definitely bring you back in maybe in the next couple of weeks as these things kind of progress as we go through
Yeah.
there. I love having guests on the podcast too. I know Trevor couldn't make it today, but he was excited to have you on as well. So we'll get this all
Awesome.
post production. We'll get it over to you, and you can do whatever you want with it. and we'll kind of go from there. So
Awesome. Oh yeah, I appreciate it. Always great to geek out on these things and just make our own theories and then come back later and say, "See, I told you."
yeah, right.
Or go back and say, "See, I was wrong."
Totally wrong. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So when I hit the stop record button, please stay on the line because it needs to upload. So we'll go from there. Thanks everybody for listening.